WHMSI is a forum. It's an opportunity for countries to collaborate internationally and do it in an innovative way where it maximizes impacts on the ground and minimizes the political baggage associated with international cooperation. Historically, treaties are signed by governments, and by signing treaties, there's all kinds of political issues that go along with that. And WHMSI intentionally is not a signed agreement. It's an agreement in spirit, and by using spirit to drive us rather than technical language, we're able to accomplish more and have less politics involved in our discussions. WHMSI is unique because of the partnerships it creates. Typically, international work is done either among governments or between NGOs. But WHMSI is an effort to get governments and NGOs and all interested partners to collaborate. And it does so not only in talk, but in spirit and in the way it's managed. And so it creates an equal partnership where anyone interested in the subject, from an individual citizen to a government of a country like the United States, can all sit at the table as equals. I think the mindset, both of the governments that have participated, which have been practically every government in the hemisphere, I think the wildlife agencies, who are the principal delivery mechanisms, governmental delivery mechanisms of WHMSI, are thinking on a different level than we did when WHMSI started 6 or 7 years ago. Then there was a tendency to treat the issue in a very traditional way. So I think we've changed the playing field with regard to the way even governments, our agencies, look at how we might cooperate internationally. So I think in terms of process, it's had success. I think in terms of developing a stronger rapport between the non-governmental institutions and the governments, we've had success. I think in terms of some on-the-ground projects, we have financed, considering the limited funding that WHMSI has, quite a few very practical projects in every sub-region of the hemisphere that have addressed conservation issues, from seabirds in the Caribbean to sea turtles to things as broad as climate change. It's important for the Fish and Wildlife Service to be involved in WHMSI, just like it is for any country in the hemisphere, because not only do we have many shared resources with other countries in the hemisphere, obvious ones being species such as sea turtles and manatees, or obviously migratory birds, which migrate from Canada and the United States all the way down to Argentina and Chile. So we have shared resources, but we also have even more. We have shared conservation issues. The conservation issues we face are basically the same conservation issues countries are facing all over the world. And we have a lot to learn from one another. We in the United States might think we do, but we don't have all the answers. We have the answers to some things. Other countries have better answers to other things. We have a lot to learn from one another. If we do that, we will all do conservation better. Very much we've tried to create WHMSI and implement WHMSI in a way that gets around some of the historic issues for international collaboration. One of the ones I'd especially like to highlight is the fact that WHMSI is an agreement in spirit, and in fact, even though we have drafted terms of reference for how it will function, we are only adopting them in principle. And that is not a small matter, because there's a tremendous tendency for us as governments to want to sign an agreement. Either we're in or we're out. And by agreeing in principle to try to achieve conservation, we're able to avoid huge political issues, because once you sign something on the dotted line, there are all kinds of foreign ministry issues, State Department issues that every country has to grapple with. And there's a huge tendency through that process to politicize and pull us away from practical cooperation. And so I think that is just one of the various very powerful elements of WHMSI that I want to highlight, because it seems like a small thing, but it's not. And you don't see many agreements out there, especially international agreements, where you've got everybody willing to cooperate on some very particular goals, and yet nobody has signed officially a specific document.